Well, welcome everybody to another amazing show. I have a question for you. Have you ever thought about the journey you're on right now in your life? And have you ever wondered, is this the right destiny for you? Is this really where you want to be? Is this really what you want to do? Are there other dreams, other bigger goals that maybe you have in your life that just haven't happened for you yet? They've just been either put on hold or you thought maybe you couldn't do it, or somebody else told you, yeah, there's no way you can do this. Have you ever had any of those goals? I'll bet you have. Well, today is the day to break through your limitations and create a new destiny for you. Absolute new destiny. Wouldn't that be amazing? What if you could take off some of the limitations, some of the beliefs, some of the old ways of showing up and step into a new you? A new energized you, a new you that has passion and purpose, and you're feeling like you're unstoppable. How would that be? Well, if you have the courage to listen to the entirety of this show today, I can pretty much guarantee if you open your mind to hear some new ideas and new ways of thinking, and you take some immediate action after this show, things are going to get better and better for you. I have an amazing guest today. She's had two New York Times best-selling books that I know of. She might have had more, but she's written over 20 books. And she's one of the top transformational teachers in the world, teaching individuals how to get what they want when they want it. So stay tuned after the break, and I'm going to introduce my guest.
Are you over 50? Would you like to get up to 33% more income in retirement? Then call now for this free book, Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers. This free book reveals little-known secrets about annuity strategies that will help you make the right choices before buying an annuity. Call right now for your free book, and as a bonus, we'll also throw in a free annuity rate report, both absolutely free for calling Annuity General today.
Call 800-510-0470.
If you or someone you love has developed Parkinson's disease after being exposed to gramoxone or any herbicide containing the deadly chemical paraquat, you may be entitled to financial compensation. If you developed Parkinson's and worked or lived on a farm that used paraquat herbicide treatments with gramoxone, Firestorm, or any listed brand, call now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. There are time deadlines, so don't delay. If you don't win, you pay nothing.
800-771-3380.
Are you feeling stuck or in a holding pattern with your business or life, and you're not doing the things you want or love? Then at some point, you're going to be faced with a decision. You'll either choose to keep living in your comfort zone and risk a life of mediocrity, or increase your courage, step into your power, and forge into the unknown, where everything new becomes possible. If you're truly ready to live masterfully, then you need KenDFoster's newest book, The Courage to Change Everything, Strategies and Wisdom to Transform Your Life One Day at a Time. This powerful but simple guide provides you with 365 days of life-transforming wisdom, profound questions, and action steps that will increase your strength and open the doors to success. Stop wondering why your business or life isn't working. The answers are available now. Imagine if you had more courage or another chance to start following your dreams. To pick up your copy of The Courage to Change Everything, visit thecouragetochangeeverything.com. That's thecouragetochangeeverything.com.
Well, welcome back, everybody. As I promised, I have an amazing guest for you today. Peggy McColl is with me. Hi, Peggy.
Hey, Ken.
It's been a while since we've done this, but it's the right timing, I think.
I agree with you. It's perfect timing.
Yeah. So, for those of you that don't know Peggy, Peggy is a world renowned wealth, business, and manifestation expert, as well as a New York Times bestselling author of Your Destiny Switch, Master Your Key Emotions, and Attract the Life of Your Dreams. She's also the author of 20 books, both fiction and nonfiction. And for the past 25 years, she's been using the Power Life Script process, along with her unique understanding of the universal laws, to show people around the globe how to manifest the results they want and desire. Peggy, so good to have you.
Great to be here, Ken. I just love serving. I love your show. I love what you're doing. I love your heart. And it was such a pleasure to receive the invitation to be here.
Oh, well, it's my pleasure. We've done quite a few things over the years, and it's good to be back in touch with each other. Life changes. You've grown and evolved. I've grown and evolved. And my listeners have grown and evolved as a result of having amazing individuals like yourself on the show. What inspired you to get into the transformational business?
Well, it was actually an interesting experience. It wasn't something that I intended or planned to do. I was working for a corporation in Toronto where I was born and raised, and they had hired a keynote speaker to do a kickoff event. And as an employee, we're all told it was a mandate. You must go. I didn't want to go. It was an evening. That was supposed to be my free time. And so I decided, okay, I'll show up and maybe I could sneak out, at the first opportunity. And I found myself seated in the front row. There was only one seat left when I arrived, and it was right in the front row center. I'm certain that was absolutely divinely guided. And the speaker was Bob Proctor. And that was 43 and a half years ago now. And so he came on stage and he started to speak, and the understanding that he had was completely different to what I had come to know and understand. And he said something that evening that really caused me to pay attention. He quoted Vernon Howard, and he said, "You cannot escape from a prison unless you know you're in one." And I was in one. I was in an emotional prison of my own making. And from being and deciding to be a serious student, I transformed my own life, and then I decided to help others do the same.
Well, I've been in that same prison, and I think the only way I got out of that prison is I really started to think about the results I was getting in all areas of my life, in my personal life, in my business life, and they weren't the results I wanted. In fact, I was sick and tired of having those results. So once you learn here, you found Bob, and we love Bob. Of course, Bob's made his transition to the next level of brilliance, and somewhere in the astral right now. What were some of the most courageous epiphanies that you've had along this path as you have, helped so many others find their epiphanies? What are your epiphanies?
Well, there's been a number of them, but there's certain times where everything shifted. And I remember when I was going through a divorce, and this is from my first husband. I'm happily married now. We're about to celebrate our 15th year wedding anniversary. But at that time, we're going back a number of years now, I was going through a divorce, and I decided I was going to buy a home. And the home that we had as a matrimonial home, we couldn't sell. We couldn't give it away. It was just a very interesting real estate market at that time. But I was absolutely focused on purchasing a home for me and my son. And so one of the epiphanies that I learned many, many years ago in the early stages of learning personal development was this: decide on what you want, but understand you don't have to know how to get it. You have to get in alignment with it. You have to feel as if it's in your life now. So I went and made a decision and purchased a home, and I had no money at that time. And I actually took a cash advance on my visa to put the offer in with the real estate agent, which some people might call crazy, but sometimes success is defying logic. And so that was the epiphany. You don't have to know how. I ended up buying that home. I felt the fear, but went for courage anyway. And I ended up closing the deal on that home about 6 months later, and paid for it and lived in it for many years, and I almost sold it for double what I had bought it for. But that was a courageous act. It was stepping forward, even though I had no idea how I was going to do this or pay for it. But it was a great epiphany and a wonderful learning experience.
Well, I wrote a book back in 2003, my first book. It was called Ask and You Will Succeed. 1001 Ordinary Questions to Create Extraordinary Results. Out of those 1,000 questions, there's not one how question in the entire book.
Fascinating.
Why is that for, I know my answer to that, why I don't ask how questions in the beginning. Because, what do you think about that? I mean, you went, I'm not going to go with how, right?
Right.
I'm just going to take steps and actions and go do it.
Well, quite often if people ask how, and they've set a goal that they have no earthly idea how they're ever going to accomplish, they won't know the how. And if you ask the question, how, not knowing the answer, sometimes people allow that to not make a decision, not move forward. And the process of manifestation simply involves making a decision, like a firm decision, where you have no choice but to follow through, and then feel and know that it's already done, even though there's no evidence of it in sight. And the how actually shows up.
Yeah. Did you know how to write your first book?
No, I did not. I did not. I didn't know how to write my 19th book, which is a fiction book. I didn't know how to write that either, but I decided to do it.
Okay. Yeah. So you didn't know how to write the fiction. Did you know how to create your first workshop or second workshop?
No, I did not.
Yeah, I didn't either. We didn't know the how. And what it's interesting with the how, because I think the how, the larger your dream, the less the know-how quote.
Right. Yes, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Okay, epiphanies. I want to ask you, you've taught so many people along this line here. And you're talking about the feeling part of that. So it's like that love part, that passion in our hearts. I want to ask you how important that is and what we can do to maybe fuel that up if we're like in a stuck place. But I do have to take a break. So I'm going to come back. As soon as we come back from the break, you can answer those questions.
Perfect.
Here's an important message from the Diabetes Solution Center. Diabetics understand all too well the pain of pricking your fingers, but now by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor or CGM, you can immediately reduce your pain. It's easy to use and helps you make more accurate diabetes treatment decisions. If you are testing your blood sugar 4 or more times daily, injecting insulin 3 or more times daily, or using an insulin pump, call the Diabetes Solution Center right now. If you or someone you love has developed Parkinson's disease after being exposed to gramoxone or any herbicide containing the deadly chemical paraquat, you may be entitled to financial compensation. If you developed Parkinson's and worked or lived on a farm that used paraquat herbicide treatments with gramoxone, Firestorm, or any listed brand, call now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. There are time deadlines, so don't delay. If you don't win, you pay nothing.
800-771-3380.
CBD, you've heard about it. It's helping people relieve chronic pain, improve sleep, and reduce stress. But how do you find science-based products that feel right for you? Feel Good Hemp was started after the founders used CBD oil to help their dad heal from a 3-month-to-live diagnosis. They deliver all-natural, lab-tested, high-quality products at affordable prices. So visit feelgoodhemp.org/courage and be sure to use coupon code COURAGE25 to get 25% off your first order. Well, my theme is see the unseeable, know the unknowable, and do the impossible. But I don't know if we can do any of that if we don't know how to tap into those feelings, those passions. How do you teach that, Peggy? How important is it, and how do you teach it?
Well, it's absolutely essential. You've got to feel it. You got to get into the frequency, get on the frequency of what it is that you desire. So the how is accomplished through the use of your imagination. You simply imagine, and everybody can do that. Everyone has the ability to use that mental faculty. It's not something that's just reserved for a select few. There's a wonderful quote in Neville Goddard's book, The Power of Awareness, where he talks about the reason why people fail. And he said the reason why people don't accomplish the goals that they've set for themselves is because they don't feel as if it's natural. It's like if I said to you, Ken, are you a man? And you'd say, well, yes. I say, you're sure? Well, you don't need to check. Like, you're a man. Like, it's just natural. It's who you are. There's no doubt about it. And as much as that may seem like a very silly example, when you create the knowing within you that what you desire is already here, you're using your imagination. And through practice, like daily practice of really impressing that idea of the goal already being in your life, of the outcome already being there, and what it would feel like knowing that it's there. And by doing that consistently, you draw it to you. You literally draw it to you because you're emitting energy from your being. And the stronger the intense emotions, like feeling grateful, feeling joyful, the better it's going to go. But that takes practice and it takes time. When someone first starts doing this or imagining or using their imagination, they may, find it a little awkward. We were really good at it when we were kids, but through, discipline and giving yourself a command and following it and doing it every single day, you'll become really good at it.
That's such an important principle. I'm sitting here thinking back, when was the first time I really learned that principle? Is when I bought my third house. It was the third house that actually the buttons went on. And what happened for me is I had no money at the time. I was living in a condo. I was having a baby. My second child was coming and I needed a bigger place. And I was thinking, how am I going to get this? And I remember putting on, this dates me a little bit. I put on ABBA, Super Trooper, and I would dance to that and feel that. I remember thinking, I've got to get $30,000. I'm going to manifest this 30,000. I'm going to get this in. I'm going to have this money. We're going to buy this home. And on and on. I did that for like 45 days, I think it was. And the money came. It was there. I bought the house, right? That's what we're talking about. But we're talking about that real passion, that feeling it, that knowing of it.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. I have a little wooden device on my desk that I actually had made. And on it, it says, what would I love? What would I love? And this is a powerful question to ask yourself when you're thinking about what you would love to have, do, be, experience in your life. But it's also a great way of switching out of anything negative over to something positive. So when I had bought that house that I shared with you earlier, Ken, and I didn't have the money to pay for it, and I took a cash advance on my Visa to put the deposit in, I found myself experiencing fear. And the way that I would, break through the fear and turn it into courage was by asking myself that question. What would I love? And I was obviously feeling fear because I was thinking about what I didn't want to happen. And so I just say, okay, Peggy, what would you love? Well, I'd love to own this house. All right. What does that feel like? Oh, it feels amazing. Okay, go straight to feeling. And I would just put myself back into that energetic feeling state of gratitude, knowing it's already done. Oh, I'm so grateful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And that was I call it a switching technique. And I would switch. Sometimes I would switch 50 times an hour.
I love that. The mind is the cause of our bondage and the mind is the cause of our liberation. And what we're talking about, I love what you said. What would I love? Yeah, be, do, and have. That was an important piece that I don't know if my audience got that, but I hope you get it now. What would I love to be? What would I love to do? What would I love to have? Right? That is an important piece. But, I've found that people have used the principles. They set their goals. They let out the how. They're not doing the how. They're thinking about what they love. They're getting tuned with their passion. But there seems to always be another piece. What happens when people have limiting beliefs inside of them and they have these start patterns where they start to manifest it and then it stops, right? What do we do with that?
Yeah, people need to understand that's just part of, our human experience. We all have limiting beliefs, every single one of us. It doesn't matter who you are and where you are. But the moment you make a decision to change, what happens is these limiting beliefs are trying to hold you back. They're trying to pull you back. They're deeply rooted in your subconscious mind. You have to override them. And the truth is, it's the dominant thought and the dominant feelings that will produce the results. So even though you may experience some fear, or you may experience some doubt, or you might experience some worry, what's the dominant thought or the dominant feelings that you're engaged in every single day? It's not that you won't feel those things. You just have to have the awareness to notice when they're there and then switch away from them as soon as humanly possible, so that you're energetically aligned with the feelings of the outcome that you desire.
I love that. Okay. That's in what we're talking about in when I got to go to break again, but I want to switch back to that one statement you made. You've got to match the frequency or the vibration of what it is you want. So I want to go back into that, and then we'll go from there. So I got to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
If you or someone you love has developed Parkinson's disease after being exposed to gramoxone or any herbicide containing the deadly chemical paraquat, you may be entitled to financial compensation. If you developed Parkinson's and worked or lived on a farm that used paraquat herbicide treatments with gramoxone, Firestorm, or any listed brand, call now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. There are time deadlines, so don't delay. If you don't win, you pay nothing.
800-771-3380.
Hi, folks. Medicare Part C plans with extra benefits like getting money added back to your Social Security check may now be available to you in your zip code. Make sure you're not missing out. It's simple. 1, call the number on your screen. 2, they'll look up your zip code and see if you're eligible. 3, they'll check for plans with extra benefits like prescriptions, dental coverage, and the benefit that adds money back to your Social Security check every single month. Call now.
I called to get everything I deserve.
I called to check my zip code for a plan with a benefit that adds money back to my Social Security check.
I called to check my zip code.
Millions of people have called the Medicare Coverage Helpline. Call, check your zip code, see if you're eligible, and get what you deserve. Call now.
Call 1-800-374-2308. That's 1-800-374-2308 now.
Well, welcome back, everybody. I've named this show The Courage to Change Your Destiny, and I'm speaking with New York Times bestselling author Peggy McColl, who has changed the destinies of tens of thousands of individuals with her work. So, Peggy, let's talk about energy. Let's talk about frequency, matching those vibrations. Let's say you want to buy the house. What did you mean you have to match the frequency of like the house? What does that mean?
Right. That's so good. You see, we're vibrating right now. We're manifesting right now, whether we know it or not. It's just what frequency are you on? In other words, what are you giving your attention to? And let's use an example of money, because that's a good one. And that's something that a lot of people would love to experience more of. And so what happens is people that desire to have more money in their life, they continue to look at their present results. They look at their bank account, or they look at their tax statement, or their visa, or whatever, their loans, and they feel all consumed in that. The desire is there for more, but they continue to feel and reside in that space of looking at their present results and staying emotionally involved in them. So if the desire is for having You mentioned earlier the $30,000 that you desired to have. Well, you had to see and know and believe that it was already in your life. Well, that's a different level of frequency. That's somewhere else. Like we set goals, we're usually raising our level of frequency. So you must get on that frequency, which means you've got to pretend. You got to act as if. You've got to feel that energy of knowing the money's already there, even though there's no evidence of it in sight. And that's really what your slogan is for your show as well. Knowing the unknowing and seeing the unseen, etc., is really what it is. And so that's what I mean by that, getting on the frequency of what you want. So the money's not in your life right now, but the desire is there. And you've determined what that it looks like, but you determine what it feels like as well. And then you feel it. Like one of the things I have on my desk here, Ken, is I won't show you the other side of it, but this is a bank statement. And it has the bank logo on it. I went on my account online and I copied it, pasted it, and I put in the numbers that represent the desire that I have. And I have a laminated copy here on my desk. I have a laminated copy beside my nightstand, beside the bed. And I see it every day. I see it all day long because I'm in my office most days all day long. I see it, before I go to bed at night. I see it in the morning when I wake up. And I have a big smile on my face because I feel the joy and I feel the gratitude of knowing that it's already done. So it's just a matter of time before it shows up.
Isn't that amazing? Through having the experience that you have and I have, that what we're talking about here is real. So I know when I first started on this path, I had a lot of doubt and uncertainty. Is this really real? Is what they're talking about? Can this actually happen for me in my life? Can I actually take my bank statement and put out the amount that I'd really like to have in my bank account and really start to feel that and be with that every day? Does this really work? What do you think? From my point of view, doubt and uncertainty were the biggest challenges that I've had in my life to manifest things. What do you say to all that?
Yeah, that's just limiting belief, right? We're programmed. We're already programmed. We're programmed in a certain way, and depending on what your programming it is, you may have different challenges. One of the things that I found in my life, and this is an awareness that I had when I went through my divorce from my first husband, Charles, is that I had a deep-rooted belief that I was unworthy of love. And sometimes we don't realize what those deep-rooted beliefs are until we decide to become aware, to notice what's going on, not to judge, and certainly not to criticize, but only for awareness, and also not to analyze, as I like to say. We really want to just understand a little bit more about who we are and why we are the way we are. And it's not uncommon that we may feel those emotions. Most people feel those emotions, but you have to decide, is this serving me or not serving me? Now, in some ways, it may serve you. You can welcome it and say, thank you for the awareness, but I'm going to let you go because you're no longer serving me here. As a matter of fact, you're a block for what I really desire. So I'm going to replace it, because the opposite of worry is a certainty. It's a sense of certainty. Or the opposite of fear is courage, right? Having that courage, having that faith of knowing that it's already done. See, we're emotional beings, and we are habitual emotional beings. And we're programmed in a certain way, but that's good news because we can replace it. Look at you and I. We've known each other now for well over 20 years. And yet here we are, still studying, still in the business, still applying what we're learning, because we know that, the other way, the way that it was before in our life, we don't want to go back there. It's not so much fun. It certainly isn't an abundant life. And so we've made a decision to get better and better and better. And the more we get better, the better our results are as well.
Absolutely. So I'm wondering if you could be a little vulnerable with the people here on my audience. So how did you let go of that feeling of not being worthy for love and really step into that place of deserving love? And how did you do it?
It was such a good awareness. It really was. First thing is I felt gratitude for discovering it, right? Or uncovering it. And then I realized, as simple as it is, that the belief that is required to be there in order to have love in my life is to know I'm worthy of love and to feel love and to give love. So I simply chose to be a more loving being. And also, in order for us to have more in our life, when we are the source of that for another, it's like with success. You help another person succeed, you're going to naturally succeed. And same thing with love. You want to experience more love in your life, be more loving. And I realized that it wasn't just a sense of worthiness about love. I wasn't loving toward myself. And, I just decided I'm going to become my best friend. And I'm going to talk to myself in a loving way, the way I would talk to my best friend, have that self-talk, be very loving self-talk. So I just began a new dialogue and began to speak to myself differently and do mirror work and do affirmations and script my life the way I wanted it to be and listen to that every single day. And that's how I turned it around. And then I attracted my wonderful husband into my life, who is an amazing man. And we've been together now 18 years and I'm blissfully happy. I believe he is as well, but I can't speak for him. But that was really it. It was, I think about the divorce as one of my most painful learning experiences. And I'm grateful for it. I'm very, very grateful for it. But it was a painful learning experience at the time.
All right. Well, listen, I'm going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. I want to talk a little bit about why you went from writing nonfiction books to fiction books. And I want to talk about your latest book. So we'll be right back.
Are you being audited and do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Is the IRS threatening to take more of your money? Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate your tax bill and reduce your stress. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, do not call the IRS alone. Call a tax doctor now for a tax emergency analysis.
Are you over 50? Would you like to get up to 33% more income in retirement? Then call now for this free book, Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers. This free book reveals little-known secrets about annuity strategies that will help you make the right choices before buying an annuity. Call right now for your free book, and as a bonus, we'll also throw in a free annuity rate report, both absolutely free for calling Annuity General today.
Call 800-510-0470.
If you or someone you love has developed Parkinson's disease after being exposed to Gramoxone or any herbicide containing the deadly chemical paraquat, you may be entitled to financial compensation. If you developed Parkinson's and worked or lived on a farm that used paraquat herbicide treatments with Gramoxone, Firestorm, or any listed brand, call now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. There are time deadlines, so don't delay. If you don't win, you pay nothing.
800-771-3380.
Are you feeling stuck or in a holding pattern with your business or life and you're not doing the things you want or love? Then at some point, you're going to be faced with a decision. You'll either choose to keep living in your comfort zone and risk a life of mediocrity, or increase your courage, step into your power, and forge into the unknown, where everything new becomes possible. If you're truly ready to live masterfully, then you need KenDFoster's newest book, The Courage to Change Everything, Strategies and Wisdom to Transform Your Life One Day at a Time. This powerful but simple guide provides you with 365 days of life-transforming wisdom, profound questions, and action steps that will increase your strength and open the doors to success. Stop wondering why your business or life isn't working. The answers are available now. Imagine if you had more courage or another chance to start following your dreams. To pick up your copy of The Courage to Change Everything, visit thecouragetochangeeverything.com. That's thecouragetochangeeverything.com.
Okay, welcome back to the show, everybody. This is your host, KenDFoster. Today, we're talking about the courage to change your destiny. We're changing destinies as we speak today, as my audience is embracing exactly what Peggy McColl is teaching us. Peggy, you went from nonfiction to fiction writing. Was there a reason for that? I'm really curious about that.
Yeah, I had written 18 nonfiction books and released them in the world. And one of my team members sent me a list of suggested videos to record for social media. And typically what I do is I'd look at the list and I would just record a video on that topic. And so I looked at the list, and it was how I wrote my first fiction book. And I thought, well, I can't record a video on something I haven't done. I understand how to write fiction, read a number of them. And so I thought, would I like to write a fiction book? Well, one of my favorite styles of fiction books are parables, inspiring stories that really encourage people. And so I made a decision. I'm going to write a fiction book. And not only am I going to write a fiction book, I'm going to write a great book, and I'm going to have it done in 10 days. And I didn't have 10 days wide open in my agenda. I just went to my agenda and plugged in time, like a couple hours here, an hour there, where I knew that I could write. And I got on with the work. And you know something? I didn't even know what the title would be called. I had an idea of what I would write about, which would be based on my life and what I had gone through. And so I just connected to the source, connected to the universe. And I just said, okay, allow me to be the channel. And I put my fingers on the keyboard, and it began to flow. And the title came to me, and the book that I wrote is called Savvy Wisdom. And it starts with a young lady who's sitting on a park bench. She's a teenager, and she is there to kill herself. She was suicidal, and that was me back then. Now, in the book, what happens is she ends up meeting this wise elderly man by the name of Savvy, Savvy. And you'll find out in the book, what that really stands for. And she meets this gentleman, and at the end of the first chapter, he hands her a handkerchief, and on it is embroidery, and it says, if you want your life to change, you must change. And so this is how she meets Savvy in the park, and they begin a relationship, and he guides her to totally transform her life. And that's the first one. And then the second one is Savvy Wisdom 2, which is a sequel for this book. And this is an extension of what happened to Sophie, is the main character in here, what happened to Sophie, and as her life evolved. And that's the sequel to Savvy Wisdom. So it was by far the greatest time I've ever had writing a book. It's a book that I'm so passionate about. It's kind of like when you have multiple children, there's no child that's your favorite. You love them all. Similar to being an author, right? There's no book that's your favorite. You love them all. But I would have to say, if I had to pick a favorite, it would very likely be Savvy Wisdom.
Wow. Well, how does my audience get that book, first of all?
It's on Amazon. It's on
Amazon. Okay. Peggy McColl, Savvy Wisdom on Amazon. Okay. I have a listening audience too, so we kind of have to let them know about that, right?
Yeah. And it's being made into a movie.
Oh, it is. Oh, yeah. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. So I already have my visual tool here, my Academy Award for Best Picture, which is what I visualize every single day, but it is being made into a movie. And it's an extraordinary story. It actually has received the best response from any book I've ever written.
Wow, that's amazing. Do you think people learn faster with fiction than they do with nonfiction?
Yeah, I think so, because people want to be entertained more than they want to be educated, right?
Yeah.
And so when you can entertain them and educate them and inspire them all at once. And what's fascinating is, young people really love this book as well. It's sort of a book that is what they call 4 quadrants, men, women, boys, girls. Young people love it. Elderly people love it. I've had people tell me that the book's gone through their entire family, starting with a grandmother right down to the grandchildren. And so that's really a wonderful feeling for an author to know that it's making a big difference in people's lives.
That's so awesome. I'm wondering, is there a way that this book can transform lives? Do you think that's happening? Like, what are the benefits when I read that book, other than being entertained?
Yeah, because, Savvy giving Sophie wisdom of what to do, how to change her life and how to go from this place of no longer wanting to live to creating an absolutely amazing dream life. And she goes through challenges, there's different stories in there that absolutely occurred. And in Savvy Wisdom 2, Sophie gets a diagnosis of cancer and goes through treatment and is hospitalized. And I went through all of that. And so, it really, it speaks to so many different things. It speaks to people that are dealing with depression. It speaks to people that have financial goals, but they have no earthly idea how they're going to do it. People that want to get in a healthy, loving relationship, people that, want to have a baby and can't seem to get a baby, or people that want to write a book and be successful as an author, or people that have gone through health challenges and have overcome them. And I mean, that was really my biggest experience, was when I received the cancer diagnosis. And so I decided to write about it, but write it in a way that would serve people, not have people go, oh, poor you, or, oh, that's terrible, because it wasn't. I mean, it was a blessing. I never, ever said, why me? I just looked for the gifts, and there were so many.
I love that. And, there seems to be cause and effect, right? So there's a reason that you got the cancer, whatever that may be for you. Did you ever focus on the causes, or did you just go, here it is, and this is what I need to do now? Where do you focus your mind with that?
I never really focused on the cause, but I knew that there was something obviously that did create it. And now I understand it. And it was stress. There was a period of time just a few years ago where my husband and I ended up buying this multi-million-dollar, beautiful, custom designed home. And it was similar to that movie, The Money Pit, if you've ever seen that movie.
Oh, yeah.
With Tom Hanks and Shelley Long. And it was an experience like that. And I just remember that being, quite the experience. It was like every day something was going wrong. And my husband and I were really feeling, I mean, we self-created it, obviously. I knew better, but it was in a very stressful environment. And stress is the great cause of disease. And I'm quite certain that's what created it.
Well, that brings up another thought. I'm wondering, can your dreams be too big for what you want to do, for what your soul wants to do? Maybe that's the question.
I love that question. And my short answer would be no. It's neither big nor small. Only thinking makes it so. I think of the quote that's in Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, that goes like this: no more effort is required to aim high in life, to demand prosperity and abundance, than is required to accept misery and poverty. So think about that quote for a moment. No more effort is required to aim high in life. Go big, baby. And, I mentioned you Academy Award. Look what I wrote on the cover of the book. Over 500 million copies sold. Now that's a visual, right? That's a visual that I've created for myself, but I see that every day, right? It gets impressed into my subconscious mind because I'm seeing that every single day. Is that a bold statement? Maybe. Is that too big? Could it have been 5 million? As a matter of fact, I wrote out a tag to put on the book, over 50 million copies sold. And I looked at it and thought, nope, that's too small, and changed it to over 500 million copies sold.
Wow. And this is generational thinking. This is thinking outside of what's going to happen this year, next year, the year after that. This is long-term thinking. And I think that society has really kind of programmed us for the short-term, immediate gratification stuff. But when you start thinking long-term, everything shifts. What do you say to that?
You know what? I've really changed my thinking on that. And I'm very much into the now. Everything is about the now. I feel it now because I know that's how I manifest. I manifest in the now. And I remember, I worked with Wayne Dyer for a period of time, prior to his passing. Yeah. And I remember him saying this. He said, infinite patience produces immediate results. And think about that for a moment. Infinite patience produces immediate results. It's like if you knew now that your goal was in your life, there's no need for impatience, because it's there. So I totally reside in the now. Like I see the Oscar already done. I have the dress, to go to the Academy Awards, walk down the red carpet. I have, the book, the vision, it's already done. And I'm living as if it's already done.
Yeah. You're kind of living in the future, but you're manifesting in the moment.
Exactly.
That's what you're saying. Right. And what Wayne Dyer said, I'd say it another way. It's like when you can be still, be calm, infinite patience. That's where the creative force starts to flow through us. It's not when we're wired and going out there and running around like crazy. You can't even hear the infinite force.
That's so true.
It's so true, right? All right, listen, I got to take another quick break. And when we do come back, let's talk a little bit about your greatest successes and why you consider those your greatest successes. We'll be right back, Peggy.
If you or someone you love has developed Parkinson's disease after being exposed to gramoxone or any herbicide containing the deadly chemical paraquat, you may be entitled to financial compensation. If you developed Parkinson's and worked or lived on a farm that used paraquat herbicide treatments with gramoxone, Firestorm, or any listed brand, call now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. There are time deadlines, so don't delay. If you don't win, you pay nothing.
800-771-3380.
Well, if you just joined us, we're talking with Peggy McColl, who's a New York Times bestselling author and author of 20 plus books. Her latest book is called Savvy, and you can get that at any of the major bookstores or on Amazon, I'm sure. Not sure what happened to Peggy right now, but she'll be right back to join me a second. Something's going on with her right now. Anyway, I'm going to be talking about her greatest successes. And you know, success is always manifested for all of us when we get out of our comfort zone, when we have the courage to step into the unknown and be persistent. Consistent steps on a consistent basis are what creates success for all of us. So if that's you, you know, if you've had some stop-start patterns in your life, it's very simple to stop that, right? It really is. We've been talking about it the whole show. It's about making the commitment to change. It's about making the commitment to step into that greater part of yourself. And can you do it? Yes, you can do this. I've had to do it. Peggy's done it. Almost every guest I've had on the show has had these crossroads where it seems like everything is falling apart. Don't let the illusions of that stop you. If you're in a place right now and you're trying to manifest one of your dreams, I can almost tell you the bigger the dream, the greater opportunity for it to start looking like it's going to fall apart. But will it fall apart? Probably not if you are persistent and you take daily steps into that persistence. What stops success? The number one stopper is what we talked about earlier. It's the uncertainty, it's the doubt, it's the limiting thinking that this isn't going to happen for you. It will happen for you if you will use the techniques that we've talked about on this show. Set your goal, get clear with what it is. Get clear with what your passion is. Why do you want this goal to happen? Write out 25 reasons if you need to. Then decide what you're going to give or give up. Maybe you're going to give up some of your beliefs of not being able to manifest it, right? Or maybe you're going to give up some TV time. But like Peggy said, you know, she's going to write a book in 10 days. She just scheduled it on her calendar to write it when she could, with a total time of about 10 days. Amazing, right? Is there something you can do that's similar? Of course you can. You know, if you're having challenges with beliefs, you can go to my website, KenDFoster.com, and there's two resources for you there. The first one is my release process. It's been developed over 20 years. It's a scientific process that helps people release the limiting beliefs in all areas of their life. It's like a global release. And, you know, how fast can you release that? Well, as fast as the mind can say, I'm done. I'm done with this. You can release any past traumas, dramas, worries, concerns, anything. You can actually release it that quick. Then you'll look back over time to see the results. So if you would like to get that resource, go to KenDFoster.com. All you do is subscribe to me, and I give you that as the first step in being one of my subscribers. So I hope you'll do that. Also, if you would like to talk about your business or how to transform your life in some way, been a business strategist for over 26 years and a transformational coach at the same time. I've worked with tens of thousands of individuals just like you that really want to change their life and take their life to a completely new level. So if that's you, just go on my website, again, KenDFoster.com, and sign up for a free consultation with me. How cool is that? Doesn't cost you anything. And I will help you. I guarantee you, I will help you to change up exactly what you need to change up. Well, my host, Peggy, my guest, Peggy McColl, just dropped back in. So, Peggy, we've got about 1 minute. I'm going to ask you a closing question here. You got the message to the world. What is your message to the world? You got the voice of the world right now, the 185 countries listening to you. What is your message right now to the world?
I love that. That's such a great question. Sorry about the technical difficulty. Not sure what happened there, but my message is to keep going. You know, one of the books that I wrote is Be a Dog with a Bone. And it's so important that you be persistent. You know, you're going to have unexpected challenges just like we did right here, right now. And it's like, you've got to be easy on yourself, be easy on the universe, and just go with the flow.
Go with the flow, baby. All righty. Well, that's words of wisdom there, and I love it that it's manifested that way to show the whole world. Come back in. And I was just talking about being persistent while you're away.
Oh,
all righty. Well, Peggy, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you can stay in the green room for about a minute so I can say goodbye to you. And for the rest of you, I want to thank you for being on this show, and thank you for telling your friends and your family about this show. That's how we're growing worldwide. That's how we're all over the place right now. So thank you so much. Remember to talk to Alexa, Cortana, or Siri and just tell them to play Voices of Courage, and it'll come right up for you. From my heart to yours, until next time, continue to see the unseeable, know the unknowable, and do the impossible.